Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Who's going to random drug test you fight?
Not Vada. It's somebody else for the Olympics.
Wada? Usada?
Who is doing random testing for this fight? Gervonta Davis. It's not Vada. It's somebody else for the Olympics. Usada. It's probably them. Probably. If they're testing you regular, you'd know the name of the agency testing you. There would be no probably. Floyd used to use Usada. The other agency who do most of the testing in America in big fights is Vada. So why the change from Vada to Usada? The Ryan Garcia fight was Vada, and people are suspicious. And I'm not saying that's right. I said this from the jump when everybody was on Vada's dick, that if they have a monopoly on doping testing protocol, the moment someone doesn't use them, why are you using Vada? And that was always a red flag for me, that kind of monopolization.
Frank, is Vada involved in this fight for random drug testing?
Yes, I've been getting tested by them constantly, since the press conference. So
Frank using Vada, Tank using Usada. There was a similar situation when Povetkin fought Vladimir Klitschko for the world title, and they used two separate agencies to get tested, and there was a big row about it. Anyone really believe that because Tank thinks Ryan got screwed over by Vada, that's why he's not using Vada? Nah, I don't buy it.
Nah, man, I ain't buying it.
I don't think two separate testing agencies should test the boxers separately. No. Either the two testing agencies work together, or one testing agency does the testing, collects the samples, etc. So let me just produce the receipts and not embellish anything, yeah? December 2022, Tank versus Ryan is signed. Tank's got a tune-up against Hector Garcia, and these tweets are referencing a sparring session between Tim Tszyu and Ryan Garcia. Tank said this about Ryan Garcia: he never looked that big before. He definitely on something. Shit. TYSON already proved they don't give a fuck about testing. He's replied to somebody who said, "You think he's on the juice?" He went on to say, "No funny. If I find out he's cheating, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be more than boxing problems." He thought Ryan was a drug cheat. December 2022. When someone tweets, "Why didn't you get some early Vada testing rather than be pushing this narrative?" He said he tried. Well, what does that mean, you tried? Ryan replied at the time, "Also, they never asked me to do an early Vada testing." He said he'd be willing to do it. He's already accepted everything else they've wanted. So how did we go from that to this? Ryan is innocent. They're doing anything to take the win away from Ryan. He's not using Vada no more. It's Eddie Hearn's fault. When just over a year back, he was calling Ryan a drug cheat. Victor Conte is asking, does anyone know if there's been random drug testing for at Gervonta Davis versus at The Ghost? Also, at Benavides 300 versus Alexander Vodzik. In my opinion, the lack of transparency in regards to drug testing in boxing is pathetic and needs to be exposed. The fans need to know. It is cloudy what the PBC do in terms of their testing. It is cloudy. I tell you what, none of their fighters are being tested all year round. That's known. They're not being tested all year round. Frank Martin just said it in a clip. He's been tested since the press conference. He didn't say all year round. He said since the press conference.
Frank, is Vada involved in this fight for random drug testing?
yes, I've been getting tested by them constantly, since the press conference.
So for all I know, they could be cycling off if they're not being tested all year round. But yet, you're throwing all these accusations everywhere at TYSON, at Eddie Hearn. Could it not be argued that Tank is deflecting, perhaps trying to hide something by throwing shade everywhere and at everyone else? All of a sudden, he's throwing shade at Vada. He's always threw shade at Eddie Hearn, but at Vada and their testing protocol. And now he's upped and switched onto Usada. His last fight with Ryan was with Vada. What's the reason? I don't want to hear Ryan Garcia's test. What's the real reason? It will come out.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Hey! Hey guys, Tyson Fury here. Back in the gym, as you can see. Counting down the days until I can get my redemption on Usyk. December the 21st is going to be my time. I've done everything in boxing, but I ain't come back from a loss. And I relish it. The chance to come back and redeem myself. Get up, December the 21st is all me. Undisputed, here we come.
Hey, look. The Saudis are buying off a lot of shit now. Sanctioning bodies, promotional companies, and media. I'm not even going to mention the names who have came out either in support of Tyson Fury getting drunk, defending what he did, and even accusing the people or person who recorded the video of being busybody scum. The quote-unquote mainstream media or accredited media, don't they have their cameras out looking for opportunities? It's almost like they're saying this random person came out of the house and said, yeah, by 8:30 I think Tyson's going to get drunk and be escorted out the pub and then be crawling on his knees. No, it was an opportunity and they recorded it. It's as simple as that. And here's the thing, the people who are talking about the person who recorded the video have all used that as content which they're monetizing on their platforms. It's hypocrisy. Like someone pointed out earlier, another British channel pointed out, that's a total hypocrisy. If you don't think it's a big deal, a former world champion is getting drunk like that, or if we shouldn't be talking about it, don't cover it. You've got huge platforms. If you don't cover it, there's lots of people who won't see it. Whoever recorded the video didn't force Tyson Fury to act like an idiot, right? They didn't force it. Crawling on his knees. But the fact you don't want nobody to say anything about it is mind-blowingly stupid. You've been paid off. And you think people are not going to talk about him falling out on the floor, crawling on his knees outside a fucking boozer? Are you serious? You have become enablers. And if he does go off the rails, and this bipolar or substance abuse issue he definitely has issues with substances, liquor, what I've heard, with the occasional side of nandrolone wild boar. If he does go off the rails and you've enabled a lot of his bad behavior, then what are you going to say exactly? When he thinks he's invincible and there's no consequence. Oh, the media will defend me, don't matter what I do. Then what are you going to say? I don't care how 6'7", 6'8", 9 he is, or how much times he went to Germany and beat Vlad. Sometimes as a man, you need to be told you're acting like a fucking dickhead. You're acting like a dickhead. Everybody could get drunk. Everyone can get drunk. Like alcohol isn't one of the biggest issues in our country. Like the A&E isn't overrun by mindless idiots who get bladdered every fucking Friday, Saturday, and even the weekdays. Add to that the treatment for those who excessively abuse alcohol. So that's how our sportsmen should represent in public. So that's what you're saying now, yeah? And it's the guy who filmed him, it's his fault. It's everyone's fault except Tyson Fury's. And from my perspective, no, I don't want to see a grown man go off the rails. I don't want to see no one go off the rails. But if he decides to, that's his problem, isn't it? And I suppose I should take him seriously in a rematch with Alexander Usyk because he came out with a 1-minute video punching the bag, saying he wants to avenge his first loss as a pro. Let's hope they're consistent though. If any other sportsmen fall out drunk in the club, they better get the same pass that Fury gets. But nobody's dumb out here. That's not how you're supposed to conduct yourself. He's got a foul mouth. He said he's the greatest ever, the greatest of this generation and the greatest ever. He got knocked down by a MMA fighter. He's defended his title how much times? 3. But he's an all-time great. Failed a PED test. He's got his dad acting like a nutter, banging that cage like a mad person when KSI was at the other side of the cage. Headbutting people, talking about I'll fight and beat up people and just randomly beat up people every second. And before you say, well, that's not Tyson, that's his dad, it's Tyson's entourage. He's responsible for who's in his entourage. Perhaps they'll push Fury out there for December and perhaps he'll fight Usyk. Perhaps it will happen. But this was emergency damage control. Anyone who says that footage wasn't disturbing is having a bubble, right? Yeah, people get drunk. But this isn't the first time we've seen drunken episodes with Fury in public. And he's getting no younger. Some people have went a little over the top when they're talking about the Usyk fight was close. It wasn't that close. It was competitive, but it wasn't that close. And that video he posted recently didn't convince me of anything, really.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. Boxing. Beats and rhymes.
Ben Shalom, I don't know if he's too young, but he's not clever enough to be a boxing promoter. There's no old school promoter who would be having a card on Saturday where a random who walks in the press conference and sneaks in to the press area baits a boxer, an Olympic medalist, baits an Olympic medalist, and just gets a fight like that. How does that work exactly? Ben Whitaker will eventually have to succumb to very difficult fights. But right now, you're a prospect. Matchmaking is key. Ben Whitaker needs to stay out of the matchmaking process. Train and fight. The matchmaking process, well, boxer should have a matchmaker. Ben Shalom should have a matchmaker. If there's anything to gain from an entanglement with this Ezra guy, ask him if he wants to come down to the gym and do some sparring. You don't get no fight like that. He doesn't get to demand a fight. Team Whitaker are in charge of who gets a fight. No one comes and asks for fucking shit while you're a prospect. This is your learning period. I tell you what, it really pissing me off. It's pissing me off that he got the fight. It's pissing me off. Let me see some random British boxer go to where Ben Whitaker's opponent is in Nigeria. Go over to Nigeria and call out that guy and see if you're lucky enough to get out of the press conference and get back on that plane without getting your head bust. You might think what I'm saying is extreme, but it's not extreme. Let him go to America. He wouldn't do that in America, right? Why? Because America, most people think, no, I'm not going to do that in America, you know what I mean? Like one of them dudes might have some crazy thug in his entourage and lay you down. Don't let the UK become a soft touch for nobody, because no other countries do it. And if he wins, it's going to piss me off even more. Really going to piss me off. We'll call you. Yeah, it pissed me off if he wins. He just becomes a star overnight because he chanced his arm in a press conference in the UK. You won't be able to do that with Mickey Duff, bro. Or Frank Warren back in the day. You wouldn't have been able to do that with them. They wouldn't have had it, and neither would I. They had to pay a good signing fee for Ben Whitaker. They beat out Matchroom, and Matchroom wanted Ben Whitaker. And even Eddie said, well, with that kind of money, you got to go over there. The signing fee was never disclosed. So you're paying out, investing in this guy, only for some random to turn up at a press conference, ask for a fight, and just get it like that. Was that the game plan?
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. Boxing. Beats and rhymes.
This came up in my comment section, and there was a discussion about it, how the Saudi investment is going to compromise women's boxing. They're getting pushed to the side for the elite men boxers. Now, one thing I don't like about this world is how people have entitlement. I'm not just reducing that to women. Some people forget to credit Eddie Hearn, and that includes women boxers, and how far he pushed the genre, for want of finding a better word, until it forced other platforms to look at how they are pushing and promoting women's boxing. I saw one woman on Twitter get on a soapbox, start complaining about this. There'll be less opportunities for women. But until women's boxing becomes self-sustainable on a consistent level, and don't bring up anomalies like Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, and a few others who make money. Don't bring them up, right? The gene pool in women's boxing is very weak. You got this woman complaining on Twitter, but how much of her female friends buy tickets to watch women box? The women's boxing market is dependent on the charity from men's boxing, men promoters and men boxers. Christy Martin came on the back of Mike Tyson and Don King promotions. Katie Taylor came on the back of Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua promotions. I mean, before we talk about women getting overlooked because of Saudi interest and investment, there's a lot of men boxers who can sell a decent amount of tickets where a lot of women can't, who are getting overlooked right now. They're not getting the same attention put into domestic cards. But we have to wait until 2025 and maybe beyond, see what the plans are with Riyadh season, Super League, and everyone has to fit around that and find where their place is when shit settles down. And that includes women. You can't just expect to walk on the big stage in all the upheaval. It's crazy. Women's boxing will be back in town. It's just going to take a little while. Domestic boxing will be back in town. It's going to take a little while. We've got the Riyadh season card in Wembley. I don't think there was no women on the card. And a lot of people don't want to see women's boxing. I'm not one of them. I watch women's boxing, but a lot of people don't want to watch it. And we have to respect their wants as well, because we can't just have regular customers walking away. And there lies the big issue. It's codependent on men's boxing. So when we hit a juncture like we have now, where boxing's reshaping itself, women need to do their due diligence. Do what you can. Start websites, start video channels, and promote the product. But you got to be consistent. And what I'm saying there might not reap no big financial rewards. But do you think Frank Warren started making big money as soon as he came in the gate? No. Frank lost 17 grand on his first card in 1980. That's a fortune. It's a fortune. Women have done pretty well in recent years from off the back of men's boxing. They have. And they've took advantage of that, and they should capitalize. That's good. But right now, the Saudis want the biggest and the best. And the thing is, we're getting the opportunity to get the best fights with no promotional or network issues. So yeah, the women are going to take a back seat when it comes to seeing Terence Crawford matched against the best. Women have to take the back seat. It's just what it is. Yeah? Undisputed at various weight classes. Women have to take the back seat. When the investment trickles down, women's boxing will be back. It will be back. Women's boxing managed to become more successful than it's ever been on the networks when we wasn't getting the networks working together, when we wasn't getting promoters working together as frequently as we are now and as we will be. So when we couldn't get AJ and Wilder, even fights like Manny and Floyd, Terence and Errol, which took an age for us to get together. And that was their window of opportunity. Oh, look at the women, they're just fighting each other. Best of fighting the best. And they're giving us good fights. But now we're looking towards all these big fights with men fighters. Yeah, women are going to have to lace up their boots and work hard. Plus, at the elite level, a lot of women want big purses. The likes of Clarissa Shields think she should be paid as much as men. Well, that's only so sustainable for a few women fighters who are very good. There was always a chance that this phenomenon of women's boxing on the networks could be short-lived. There was always a chance of that because of the weak gene pool and because the investment is coming from men's boxing and men promoters. What I'm saying is women have to have a very realistic approach about what it is. And when women do get in the mix, in the Super League mix, it's going to be the elite women. It's not going to be the run-of-the-mill women. They're going to have to be exceptional women boxers in exceptional matches. It's going to be the elite women. The higher the pay scale, the harder it will get. The punters are going to have to be dipping into their pockets a lot more now, paying pay-per-view. It is what it is. This Super League talk is going to come with a lot of changes. Yeah, it's all exciting. But a lot of people won't be able to afford the ticket prices at the gate and the pay-per-view prices and the subscription prices. So it's not just women who are going to have a hard time. Don't be selfish. Got to look at the big picture. There are some people, they've got the disposable income. You can't force them to watch what you want them to watch. You can't. You can't. And if they don't get what they want, they'll just cancel their subscriptions. It's supply and demand. It's as simple as that. It's supply and demand. That's what market you're in. When Katie Taylor had the first fight with Chantel Cameron in Ireland, on the shoulder programming, they showed an Irish woman before her. I think she might still be alive. And the struggles she had being accepted as a woman boxer. Just like Jane Couch from England. She won a settlement in court because the British Boxing Board of Control, and this is the 90s, was saying it's too dangerous for women to fight, cited medical reasons. And she won a settlement. And she went through a lot of battles with Frank Warren, Frank Maloney. You're dealing with supply and demand and a very niche market in women's boxing. I mean, men's boxing, believe it or not, is a niche market. That might change with all this Super League talk. That might well change. But you have to remember, boxing is a sport, along with many other sports, that were getting floated for many years on Sky because of football and the revenue that brought in. Matchroom didn't get big on boxing alone. They didn't. The pub sports have brought them huge financial success. Darts, snooker, etc. Before Carl Froch did 80,000 at Wembley, prize fighter tournaments were staple on Sky Sports in terms of boxing content. Prize fighter tournaments. There weren't no Matchroom USA. There weren't no Eddie Hearn stamping his passports every week. He's in Puerto Rico right now. Matthias versus Paro. This wasn't always the case. I wonder if some people know that. I think what it is, a lot of people are very young. But that's why you need someone to explain what shit was like previously. Yeah? And with that,
I'm gone. Ghost, peace, sayonara.